In Mumbai, India alone, only 5% of families can afford a home, and 6.5 million people live in the slums. These slums challenge FUGU's development goals of clean water and sanitation, sustainable communities, and health and well-being. This problem calls for an innovative solution.
मेरा नाम आरती है। मैं 10 साल की हूँ और मैं पहले पढ़ती नहीं थी। मैं पहले कूड़ा बीनती थी। एक कूड़ा में खेलती थी इधर।
95% of the world's cargo is moved by shipping container. In fact, there are over 350 million shipping containers in the world. Most of these containers end up stuck at a port, unable to ship back home. Perhaps the solution to India's housing crisis is sitting unused in its ports. Presenting Stackhouse, our solution to alleviate India's severe housing shortage while simultaneously achieving our company's goal to build more sustainable cities and communities. Together with local businesses and partners, Stackhouse will be implemented over the next 12 months, empowering communities to reshape their future.
First of all, the finance breakdown. By looking at the housing market within Mumbai, we determined that 6.5 million people live in slums. Of those people, by taking into account an estimate of 5 people per housing unit, we determined that we would need about 1.3 million units. By applying an 80% market penetration, we arrived at 1.04 million units that would be in use in this particular development. We arrived at several costs per unit, specifically how much it's going to cost us to acquire one particular container, which would be $200, and then we added into that some additional costs, like for example the installation of the container and the shipping, among others, which will arrive at a gross cost per unit about $300 per unit. So if we multiply the $300 per unit times 1.04, we arrive at around at a gross figure of 312 million. So in addition to those 312 million, we take into account additional costs like architectural and engineering that will help us, design the building and everything, which would be around, we estimated it to be around $50 million. And in addition to that, we determined that sales from the FD building and construction unit would amount to about $100 million. So in essence, we're looking at about $460 million. And on a per unit basis, we're looking at $449 per unit. So the use of materials for building and construction unit to prepare for the Stackhouse development will generate significant brand awareness and association. This increase in brand equity will allow FD to market its product more aggressively in the current market. Successful implementation of this particular housing development will allow FD not only to expand its platform within India or the region, but also to other emerging markets. So how are we going to finance this? So FD thought of proposing a social impact bond issuance where we're just going to issue a $467 million social impact bond, which will be backed by our partners. So basically, it will be sold as a rental property where rent will be 1/3 of the current affordable rate by Mumbai standards. So some of the metrics of this social impact bond would be the crime minimization by 5% in the area where this housing development will be located, as well as health hazard minimization by 5%. So what we're suggesting is if the metrics are met, the government will pay the principal plus 2% to private investors from realized savings. If those metrics are not met, the partners will guarantee up to 80% of the private capital invested. Some of the key partners for the Stackhouse initiative will be some government agencies like the Slum Rehabilitation Authority, UN Habitat, and also the Affordable Housing Welfare Organization of India, and the World Bank, among others on the government and international institution side. And on the private company side, we are looking to partner with the Bank of India, the Union Bank of India, and perhaps some real estate developers or prestigious states, among others. Most importantly, however, we are thinking of partnering with Ratan Tata. Mr. Ratan Tata was a former chairman of the Tata Group. He is also a billionaire philanthropist that enjoys significant clout and influence within India. The association with Ratan Tata will allow us not only to market the project within India itself, but also will prove beneficial when we are marketing our social impact bond issuance to private investors all over the world.